Welcome back. Now you've had some time to jot down your budget on paper with the form that you got from me. And now you have it before you, right? So now you have the reality of what your true monthly spending habits are. I'm going to briefly walk through how the budget should look and where you should be putting things. I mean, most of it is self-explanatory, right? But just so we can go through it together to make sure you didn't miss anything. And then we're going to go through how to calculate that budget. So as you can see, we have things like mortgages, student loan payments. Now, typically, these are the items the ones that you see that says CBR, those are the ones that are recorded by your credit bureau and shows up on your credit report. The difference between this and the stuff you write down, this is what the lenders are going to be focused on, right? So your approval will be based off of these items because they're revolving expenses that show up in your credit report. What you have to take responsibility in is the items that don't show up on the credit report. For example, your garbage, rental insurance, home security, anything that does not show up on the credit report that you pay for monthly. And the reason why I have you go through this exercise of doing the budget is because I know by doing this, you get a full understanding of your spending habits and you can make realistic decisions about what you truly can afford. All right? So let's scroll down. After you've added all of these items, as I mentioned, the stuff that says CBR, this is the stuff that showed up on the credit report. All right? This one here, this, and this. That is a total of $775. Now, when a lender is looking at your debt-to-income ratio, if you have a net budget, a net income, monthly income of $6,000, and you're only showing that your expenses of $775, you're going to get approved for a pretty high amount, right? However, after we had you put in the other information of your spending habits, this is your actual budget right here. That's a big difference, all right? Let's move on. Now, based on the previous budget, the CBR, the one that the lender sees, it's saying that your gross monthly payment that they would approve you for is $2,480. Your net monthly payment, which is based on what you actually spend, not just what's on the credit report, will only be $1,860. This is according to this example, of course. You'll have to plug in your numbers to see where you fall, right? Based on the budget, on the only items on the credit report, your gross approval will be $375,000 that you can buy a house. That's the amount of loan that they're willing to give you. Net, $281,000. Now, that is a big difference, right? So the purpose of this exercise is to help buyers realistically plan for their home purchase, okay? Now, it doesn't mean that after writing down a lot of these items that you cannot adjust your budget. You might really see that, you know what? Why am I spending so much on groceries or eating out? Or just go through your budget. I can curve some of these things. I really don't need to be doing it that much or at all. So after writing it down and maybe crossing out some of these items and being accountable where you don't go back and spend them after you've marked them off your budget, then you can increase this number, right? Now, let's go a little further. Now, it's showing you the budgets, gross income. This is your income before taxes. This is your income after taxes on a monthly basis. In this example, again, as I mentioned, this is what is showing as debt. This is the mortgage payment that you will be pre-approved for, making a total of this amount from your gross. However, once you've added in all your expenses, this is your total expenses per month. This is your actual mortgage payment you will be pre-approved for, making it this amount. So what we see here is that you're actually over budget by $256 or whatever your number will be. So this is a reality call right here. If you're in the negative, you got to go back and look at your budget and see what's going on, what can be adjusted. Just being realistic, right? That is your decision. But this brings it to light for you, okay? Now, how do you calculate these items? If you are paid weekly, you will multiply the take-home amount, this is the amount after taxes, by 4.3. Okay? These are the number of weeks. If you are paid semi-monthly, every 2 weeks, then you multiply the take-home pay by 2. If you're paid bi-weekly, meaning every other week, then you multiply your take-home amount by 26 and then divide by 12. Okay? That number will give you your net income. All right? So let's go calculate the gross netly income. Okay? So let's say, for example, now we're actually breaking it down. It's the same concept up here, but now we're breaking it down. So let's say hourly, you get $19 an hour times 40 hours for the week times 52, and you divide that by 12. This will give you your gross income and your net income. Okay? Now, to calculate, to get this amount, you will be doing the net income after taxes is the gross income, which is this, times this number, 0.75. That's how you got this. Okay? And you go down for, based on how you get paid, you would use the one that applies to you. Now, self-employed is a little tricky, and that requires, profit and loss statements. If you do 1099s, and then that annual income will be divided by 12. Okay? The gross will drop here after it's divided by 12. To get the net, you will take the gross and times it by 0.75. All right, my self-employed people like myself, okay? Now, this section here, calculate your maximum purchase price minus gross or the net. This is how you determine your monthly debt, okay? To get your debt to income ratio. Now again, it's showing your gross or your net income times 0.43% gives you your gross. Okay? Again, and you do the 0.75 on the gross to get here. Now determine your maximum housing expense. PITI is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Okay? Your HOA, your flood insurance. And it's giving you the formula to get that amount, okay? Your gross net monthly income. This is by conventional. So let me back up again. This was based on 43%. Now, typically 43%, they're speaking of, they were talking about FHA. But this number has changed because FHA does go way higher than that. Okay? I'm sorry, conventional here. And then you have an option of conventional. Now, in this section here, this is where we understand, we look at how to determine your debt to income ratio. Now, what is it? You might hear the term DTI or debt to income ratio. What does that mean? That is basically how a lender determines the amount of debt you have every month based on the amount of money you bring in every month. Not your gross, it should be on your net. Okay? And in these examples, it's showing you how to determine your debt to income ratio. Okay? So it's the gross or the net amount times 43% on this example, or determine the maximum front ratio housing expense. That means just like your basic housing expense. And you do that to determine the debt to income ratio for that purpose, right? And they're just talking about your principal, taxes, and insurance, your HOA, and your flood insurance. They're not taking anything else into account in this section, okay? As we go up a little further, now, again, it's showing you like different ratios that you can use based on the loan type that you're going to be getting, right? Now, these amounts have changed. So this is just an example. The lender that you work with will let you know what is the max DTI they allow. Ideally, this is where you want to be, right? But for conventional, it goes up to about 43 or 47%, which is pushing it. And FHA can go up to 52 to 57%. Okay? But this is at the lender's discretion because they're going to be taking a lot of things into account. I'm not a lender, so I can't make an exact determination, right? They look at each buyer's profile and what they have going on to see how much debt to income ratio they will allow you to have. All right? And here it breaks it down. The amount, subtract the amount of debt allowed from the maximum mortgage payment. Okay? And in this section, it shows you how to determine how much you qualify for, or you should be. Yes, putting a limit on yourself. So even if the lender's approval say this, but you know your monthly expenses is higher than they're calculating, then it might be this or somewhere in between. Okay? And again, this is an example of breaking it down, showing you how to determine your purchase price based on this formula. Once you've got the approval amount and you do the formula, this breaks it down for you, okay? So I hope this has been helpful. This is a major step in you understanding your budget and what you can afford to purchase. This is Simone Madan with Next Level Realty Group, powered by Fathom Realty, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Have a great one.